Thanks for staying with us. So this segment is mainly about Nigerians abroad and generally about our conduct, both on issues of marriage, decorum, behavior, and different ways that have been observed. So there was a video we picked up. I think the video actually trended last year or a couple of years ago, but it was necessary for this conversation. Dr. Nkechi Harry made this video. He was trying to point out in various ways and instances that African women in the diaspora have totally lost their values and culture. Watch this video, then we'll continue with the conversation.
So what has been my exposure there? Indian women. They're the one, they're 4 feet, some of them little 4 feet, things, small things that are making dream money. They came direct from their village into the system and they're making 180,000, 190,000, 200,000 dream money. But there's a strange thing I notice about them. As they come to work, they're wearing their native wear. That thing that they tie and hang on their neck with that dot here. I stayed in the United States. I was born here. In all my years of staying here, you'll never hear the Indian women dragging their men to the American court system for divorce. It is our women that use the American court system to destroy our men. They bring the court in to help them destroy the men. You will never hear Indian women doing that thing. I watch Indian women and women from so many other places. They're not crazy about the Louis Vuitton, Gucci, all the designers wears. They're not even interested. Indian women, I meet them. They've been here 15 years, 20 years. They still keep their accent. They still speak as if they're living in India. But when I meet our women, and our women, all that they have to do is just get to a level of where they're making 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 or 80,000 a year. I'm talking about small money. Small money. Immediately the marriage is in danger. And they change. They start bleaching. And they start talking, sure, yeah, sure. Yeah, I went, oh my God, I went to New York. I look at Korean women. I look at other women. They have this sense of cultural identity. African women do not have a sense of cultural identity whatsoever. Little money and the marriage is over. It has come to a point where we really can't define marriages in the African context anymore in the United States because the man is changing diapers. He's washing the plates. He's sweeping the floor. He's cooking. Most men now have to cook to keep their marriages intact. He's picking the kids and dropping them. I've seen the experiences. I don't need to go far. I don't want to go too, but the woman is shouting at them, where's the child's belt? Where's the child's socks? Where's the child's everything? And the women go around telling everybody, we are partners. There's nothing like head of the household. We are partners. Okay. So the men are doing everything in the women's role and also doing everything in their role. And they also keep their jobs. And that is supposed to be the perfect. If you don't do like that, they'll call American court on you.
And he was specific to the fact that when African women especially begin to earn money, so according to him, the Indian, the Chinese women, they earn from $100,000 to $180,000 annually, and they're still humble, they don't lose their culture, they are still, they are quite humble, with their family. But Africans, on the other hand, especially Nigerians and probably Ghanaians, ordinary $80,000 a year as a nurse, we begin to boss our spouses, and we want to buy multiple cars, buy designer wares, use the foreign American justice system against our husbands. And that's why we remember that we have rights, and we try to tell them that they also should be taking care of the babies, bathing the children, taking the trash. Well, the Chinese, the Indians still retain their culture of, is this subservience or culture of humility towards their spouses. That's on one end. Now, the other issue of conduct, which I'd like us to link at some point, is the video that trended of the Falcons. We'll try to show that clip to you also. Our own Falcons were on the public bus when they were attacked by another Nigerian living abroad, accusing them of representing a terrorist country, Nigeria, and almost assaulting them, verbally assaulting them. So the issue now is conduct. Now, let's start with the issue of marriage and family, and then we'll come to the issue of the Falcons in a bit. What are your thoughts? When you saw this video, what came to mind? Do you agree, disagree with him?
Let me address Dr. Nkechi first. Nigerian women, we have suffered. Africa, we have suffered. Every time our men find the opportunity to talk negative, they start to describe. I'm sure he's describing his mother too, sisters, everybody. Because the issues are the same, whether we are in Nigeria or abroad. We are overworked women. And the moment you have the courage to say, I need help to your husband, you have stood up to him. When your husband can beat you here, I know women who took the domestic violence from their husband, or the battery from the husbands, and they were pursuing visas. Because they know when they cross border, they will have mouth to talk. Because we are here when family members attend family meetings to resolve conflicts between couples that involve domestic violence. What did you do to him? You too, behave yourself now. Don't stand up. If his sister talks at him, does he slap his sister? If his mother knocks his head, does he beat his mother? That you allow him, is okay because he paid bride price. Because that's what everybody talks about. That he has done her a privilege of removing her from her father's house, that she now has misses on front of her name. So the consequence of it is to be beaten, battered, and insulted. Emotional abuse is even worse. You tell the woman, you are beneath me, you can't be more than me. You destroy a woman because of that. And the moment the woman can speak up, they'll say no, it's because she has crossed borders. It's the same issues.
We use this phrase, politics is local. The same, when issues of marriage sometimes is local, it's cultural. So when you hear people talk like this, are we also using a foreign system to analyze or to resolve our own local issues? So, for example, if there's a problem within the family, like this man said, and maybe the Chinese community or the Indian community, they have ways of solving it. But we've emancipated like the American women. So we go there, we use the American justice system, forgetting that our family issues is local. I'm just trying to put a different angle.
Okay. So I have seen... Okay, from the man speaking, I can tell he's at least of African descent. So he's very familiar with the African issues. That's on one hand. Because the issues that he has highlighted that the African women have, and particularly Nigerian, Ghanaian women, where they seem to pick up accents, wear hairs that are not theirs, and just all of a sudden have attitude and attitude problems and just rude maybe towards their husbands. And he says Indians and Chinese are not like that. Well, I have seen videos from India where there's a campaign talking about how the men seem to put their wives down and overwork them. And, they put them in ads and different things where they're encouraging men to put their hands and involve themselves in how the home is run. There's a very popular one that shows an Indian woman. She gets up in the morning, she puts food on the table, she does this, she does that. She goes out to work, she comes back, she takes care of the children. The husband comes, switches on the TV, his legs up, and her father is watching and he's sad because he realized he did that to her mother, and then he joins her to help her, and then they're talking to Indian men to put their hands. So maybe you don't on it. So instead of comparing, let's just say that he's talking about what he is familiar with. Now, the part that he has highlighted for me, that women have found a voice where, in the cases where they have been abused, where they have been,
subservient.
Yes. I don't think that's a bad thing. We have parts of our culture that we should encourage, that we should hold on to. That is true. Where we speak our language and we hold our identity with so much pride. But then there are parts of our culture, especially when it comes in marriage and how men and women act within marriage, where the man is the head and however he behaves, especially where the woman starts to earn money. We see that. We've seen those videos now where Nigerian men were killing their wives who are nurses because she's earning the money and not bringing back home and not handing it over to him because I'm the man. I brought you to this country. So you must pay. You must pay me. Everything you earn, you must give it to me. And the woman is saying, I'm not going to do that anymore. I am now in a country where I even have a voice. I can go to the legal system and they'll answer me. So in that case, concerning that particular one, I don't agree with this man.
Okay, let me come to Wike. What are your thoughts? Because you've seen abroad and you know a lot of Nigerians living abroad. So
I watched the video. I've watched the video many times because I found it really hilarious. And what I like about what he said was that we lose our identity. So while I think that women should not be slaves to their men, I do not agree with that. And maybe Indians, I don't know about Indians, I don't know their culture. I don't care about their culture. I care about my own culture. So if Indian women want to be slaves to their husband, that's their own cup of tea. What he said about African women losing their identity, they go and buy their hair, and they'll be like, oh, so strong. They will be like, I understood him from that point of view.
Right.
Why do African women, not even just African women, men as well, lose their culture because they are in...
I love that you added men.
As an African person, man, woman, girl, child, boy, everything,
Thank you, Ike.
why can't you retain who you are and be proud of that
Why
culture?
can't-
Why must you be... Look, our young hip-hoppers today, because American artists wear sunglasses, all of them wear sunglasses inside the nights.
So
why must Africans lose their identity?
So I can think on this table, we all agree with the first part, that he shouldn't condemn women who are emancipated enough to become, to speak up. We understand that very clearly. But the angle we're going to right now is the issue of culture, identity. And I was sharing an example with you. When a Nigerian family travels abroad, their mentality is, I don't want to stay with black people. I want to stay in the white community. And if they are maybe like doctors and they're very wealthy, they find a white community. And their pride, well, we're the only black people here. There's my children's school, he's the only black person. For them, that's pride. Now, when that child goes into a black-white community, he's still an outsider because no matter what, they don't see him as an insider. Truth. He grows up hearing about African-American community, hearing that, oh, they're there, wishing that he was part of them. He loses something. He now grows up. I know a family that one child killed himself. And that one, I think something happened. I can't remember, 2 disasters happened in their family because they were totally secluded from the African-American community. They wanted to just make them feel like, you're different from them. So is that identity issue? Why do we go there and want to become white? Not even African-Americans. We want to just be totally white. And but there's the other Nigerian community that they stay with each other. I know the Igbo community in Texas. They help each other. They grow together. They form a whole community. And those ones are able to raise their children. Well, I don't have all the facts. Somebody can come and say that you're wrong. But I know there's a community in Texas that have been able to grow raise their children, they meet each other.
Annual,
yes. So we see Indians, the Chinese, they have the Indian community, the Chinese community, and they're still able to retain their culture. But we find ourselves in different communities.
Let's not generalize, but let me be very careful. But Indians are very abusive of the female gender, all their cultures. You know, you can retain a family's dignity by killing your sister for the mention of seeing her with somebody toasting her. And these cultures are things that Indians are fighting with their media ads and all of those things Miriam talked about. In India, as a mother-in-law, I can just hate my daughter-in-law and tell my son, she looked at me somehow, I will slap her. And the videos are everywhere that they're advocating to change. So you now pick a community or a culture that you know nothing about to use them to compare to your own because you think you know all about it.
You know what he said? What he said was that... we have to go on a break?
No. So land your point and we're going to break.
What he said was that they still retain their culture. We're not talking about... Leave their... leave their
second part of it.
Let us talk about maintaining your culture. You see them, they still wear their saris. How many African women do you see without the hair? How many African women do you see without the Gucci bag?
I see Indian girls in bomb shots, so...
Okay, let's go on a break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. I would love to hear about Nigerians in diaspora. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, so thanks for staying with us. We're still on the issue of culture, and I know Mariam had a point, yes.
Yeah, so concerning cultural identity, and I love the example that you gave where when we're raising our children abroad, we hear it. I didn't grow up abroad, but, you know, we hear it. There's definitely pride in saying that you are amongst white people. And it's what we were sold, what we were taught. And we were taught that to be white is better, to be white-skinned is better. And everything that comes from the white side of the world is better. They are more intelligent, they are, they think, they are smarter, and things like that. And I don't know, maybe it's just the socioeconomic realities of Africa and Black American communities where we also tend to see violence, or it could be that media highlights only that side of the Black community where it's usually violence and lack of education. So Nigerians living here are looking at that, and I don't want to take my child out of Africa and take him into that community.
Right.
Like I'm running from this here and then
Yeah.
I'll take them. I want to take them to the one that is highlighted on the media where they are intelligent people. They have Bill Gates, so they have Mark Zuckerberg. Look at the sort of people that they have there.
Yeah.
That's what I want for my child. So really, we're trying to just align ourselves with the positives of that culture. But in doing that, we make the mistake of making a person feel that if you are not like them completely, then there's nothing good about you. It's important that we're able to speak the way that we speak and not have our fellow Nigerians laugh at you like, why are you pronouncing your words like that?
Yeah.
You know.
Let me take this call. Good morning from the UK. Are you there? Hello? Hello? Yes, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm there. I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mariam. Well,
The volume is a bit low.
The honor killing is happened with Pakistan, not India. So.
I can't hear you, sir. The volume is low.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Olalekan, go ahead, please. Oh, goodness. I'm so sorry about that.
So for me,
Yes.
there's the serious issue of identity loss and inferiority complex. I believe that for you to take your child abroad and insist on a white community, even though it might be for safety reasons as portrayed by media, I think you suffer inferiority complex and you would most likely pass it to the child that you're so trying to expose otherwise. Because like Maria said, that child remains a minority in that community and might even suffer worse levels of racism than you can expect, that you can imagine. And they may not share with you the level of racism that they suffer and whatever mental consequence of it that they grew up with will be your business. So I think a safe community is a safe community, whether white or black. Let your reasons be deliberate. Know what exactly you're looking for, not so that you believe a race is superior to yours and expose your child because you think then your child will be more brilliant and intelligent. You can expose your child to all the Oprah Winfrey's, their own set of people, and find a way to live in communities where they live. If you think, because your child will feel included in that, because she can see that like her.
One of the points this gentleman was trying to make, Nima, was the fact that in other communities, so the Indian communities, you give birth to an Indian child there, he understands his language, he speaks his language, born and raised in America, still has their, yes, they can be muddy, he can have the American culture, no doubt, but he understands, sometimes they even have the tonality of their roots. Same thing with the Chinese. You give birth to see a Chinese, yes, the Chinese American, but he still speaks his language. But for Africans, many of us, we don't want our children to speak our language. Even us living abroad, we don't speak our language to our children. That's what he's saying. So that identity, that identity crisis is what we're talking about. Because of that, the factors we've experienced in Africa. We come there and we don't want anything to do with anything black. I know I had that problem when it seemed that when I was a high flyer, I just got to school, president of this, Student Government Association. I was just doing all this, and of course, because I was that, my deans knew me. But the African-American community just felt like, what's this African? Just come and suddenly you're now involved in all this community work. You know, are you the only one that is here? And there was this friction between the Africans, and then the African-Americans. They just felt like we were over Sabi. So we were just the ones doing also, but it was after some years, we realized that, listen, this is the community you still have to identify with at some point. And I'm happy that Nigerians and Americans have almost been able to merge both because now we have more connections with the African-American communities. But my question, ladies, is why are we not able to build African communities successfully, to be wealthy, to help others, as the Chinese do, as the Indians do? How come we don't? You go there and you yourself, your family and your children alone. You're not trying to help other blacks like you. It's just me, myself, and I. You want to become a doctor and just be successful.
You know, okay.
No, I mean,
I have a call. Let me take this call. I'll come to you. Kalu, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I just want to brief for the seconds and what we're talking about, the community and African culture. And secondly, the long discussion we said about a wife being or misbehaved is taken abroad. Nilma, I am not agree with you in terms of beating or taking abroad. The woman will be stubborn. Let me just give you an instance. The Bible said it. I didn't know whether the other Quran said it, that a woman be submissive. 99%, we left our culture, and shift other package. Murayo, you mentioned one of the things last time, because I keep on following when you talk about marriage issue. When you told your husband that, when you say something like your husband take care of the home, like generator, school fees, and other things, but you self take care of the kitchen, another package. But at the end of the day, your wife, your husband, when you see expenses you did in the kitchen, you remember your husband say, we agree on this issue, that this and that. And you said it clearly that 99% this man is struggle and work very hard to make sure that everything is okay. And you encourage that day that every man, every woman should understand men that it's not easy. School fees and other bills.
Oh, that's good. So let me just quickly say here that if a man is doing his role and it makes the home conducive for his wife, I'm not saying she should speak up to him. I clearly said abusive men find reasons to justify abuse. In my experience, when they beat their wife, they call her non-submissive. I'm asking, does beating require her to submit? And if
this man wasn't talking about men beating.
No, he says he disagrees, and I know what I said.
That this man that called the man, the video.
I know, I'm addressing the caller now. So if for that reason, I want to reiterate what I said. If you're in an abusive relationship in Nigeria or in abroad, speak up and leave. Fight and get your freedom, because you need to be a whole person to raise your children. Absolutely. And a dead woman cannot fight to raise her children.
I'm not going to go into abusive, because we all disagree. We're all on the same page when it comes to abusive marriages. Where we are coming from is where the man was coming from was where because you are in America, you've lost your identity. I'm just saying it's a marriage, it's a partnership, and you now become the boss. If the man became the boss, you will have a problem with that. Yes. You now become the boss because you're earning more, and then you start saying, say you now buy your hair, and you say, hey, I'm an American. That's where the man was coming from.
So maybe we should define what it is to be in a marriage in Nigeria and the rules. So when we talk about it like
abroad,
let's I know, and see how we can export it abroad. So if you're in Nigeria now, who is the head of the home, and how does the relationship work in symbiotic relationship? So that when you go abroad, it's not that time when you now speak up or you because you're earning more. If you earn more, you're abusive to your husband, it's wrong.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Like I said, I would like to hear from Nigerians abroad. Please call in. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, thanks for staying with us. I think, so before the break, we're still on this issue of identity. And I'd really like to hear from Nigerians living abroad, because it's always good to have a better understanding. I mean, what we're comparing is the fact that in Nigerian communities, it seems like there is no identity of Africanness in us. We've adopted the foreign culture and way of life. But when we see other cultures, it seems like they retain theirs. And the question today is, how does that happen? Do we need to retain ours? Or is the idea really to morph into this new Nigerian-American identity that has nothing African in it?
So
I was going to say that my own is, look, even from here, we start from here.
Yeah.
When we start watching TV, too much... So we try to copy the African-American, the way he talks, we do this, whereas the African-American is looking for an identity to identify with Africans. And when they get to
even more African-American.
They now see, we are even worse than them. So they too are lost, because they are now between the devil and the deep blue sea, because the Africans that they wanted to look up to are trying to be Americans. So who are they? All I'm saying is, I think that Africans, men, women, children, everybody, we should just try and retain. I will use Miriam as an example. Miriam, the other day, said on this show that her daughter said to her that she was just going out with her hair, and the mom said, Mommy, you don't want to look glam today?
Gorgeous.
And she said, but you didn't wear your wig. So her daughter associated
glamorous
glam mommy with wigs. So
She's being conditioned.
she's being conditioned not to believe in her Africanness, not to believe that doing your hair, weaving your hair is. I've seen that I've not said anything. Shall they do her hair like this? You now see what I've been trying to say, that you are losing your identity. It's bad enough that your own identity is lost. It's that your child will now lose her identity.
So we can't blame those Nigerians living abroad. We are all guilty, right?
Exactly.
So it starts from here.
Exactly.
Okay, let me take Hassan. Hassan, are you there? It's been holding for a while.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Please, something is happening here. And it has to do with us as black race. Black race in the sense that we were discovered. And we refuse to rediscover ourselves. Because even in Nigeria here, in many elite houses, many of them do not even speak their local language. They don't even speak their local language to their children. Talk less of their children picking up from them. Talk less of America. When they get there, they become something else. Nigeria, wherever they go to, they do this copy and paste. Very, very unfortunate. And about marriage, my message is to the educated women. They don't respect their husband and they are not submissive. And they always think they can live the marriage by law. You can't use law to live marriage. Marriage is about understanding. No man will ever enslave his wife. No man will ever enslave somebody he loves. But the issue with this educated people is this. I know my right. Where is the right? All the burdens rest with men in Africa. Yanni said it the other time. Now look, the society is not clear to men because everything is for men. Everything is for men. You shoulder all the responsibility. And after that, they took insults as your payback. And you are expecting matrimonial harmony in this.
Thank you very much, Hassan.
Okay.
Yes, Mariam.
So, you see this talk of cultural identity, and it's a long time coming. It's years and years and years of conditioning. So there's one that we always blame, like this generation. Oh, you don't even know how to speak your language. How do you teach your children? We grew up, I remember growing up, in school, you dare not speak a Nigerian language. It was called vernacular. And you would put money in a bottle for every time you in a glass jar, for every time you used a Nigerian. So we had a system in place then that conditioned us not to be proud or speak in corporate places, speak our language in corporate places. And here we are today, we're parents. And I'm seeing a shift in our thinking where those who can are trying to encourage that. But secondly, there's also what is happening globally. Our world is now becoming much smaller. People are learning skills. So it's not only because I want to be like a white man. It's also that we're looking at opportunities and we're looking at benefits. So the culture has now become a culture of what are the opportunities and the benefits that I can get from this place so that my children do not have to suffer the maybe injustices or the things that are not going on in their own community. So people are not necessarily doing it because they hate themselves, but they're picking up these things because it is associated with more money, better education, better jobs. That's what is happening. So that's the cultural identity, in that place. But also there's one that seems to put everything on top of the head of a woman. Like it's the woman's hair and the way that she speaks and the way that she conducts herself in marriage. Mr. Hassan was just talking about the educated woman. Right. That we need to speak to educated women, how they handle marriages. There are so many factors in why a marriage would end. But the educated woman has something your uneducated woman doesn't have, which is her right, and also accessibility and accessibility to maybe the courts, and other opportunities that she can fall back on if that marriage fails.
Let me take this call. I've been holding for a while. Hello, good morning. Are you there?
Hello.
Hello, you're live. Go ahead, please.
First time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mariah, and your team for the job that you do.
Thank you, sir.
I am speaking from a very personal experience point of view.
Okay.
The disaster with marriage in Europe is that it's not a fertile ground for African marriage to thrive. And most Nigerian women, when they find themselves in Europe, they are taught that everything is about their rights. Everything you do that your partner does not like is termed abuse. From emotional abuse, financial abuse, to all manner of behavior termed abuse is the foundation of the disaster of Nigerian marriages in Europe and America. Nigerian families should, and wives particularly, should know that the Asian women, they hold on to their identities, their culture, while living in Europe. In the same European community where you find the average Nigerian woman will term anything she doesn't like as an abuse, the Asian women, the Indian women, they hold on to their culture. And that's how their marriages are better sustained than the African marriages. So Nigerian women should know, and once it happens that they lose their identity, they lose their marriage, and that's how the same effect trickles down to their children.
Thank you, New Page. I want to take this conversation to raising children abroad, because, you see, I have a story of a woman, a family. I mean, this is a woman that was sharing her story with me, that it's not her child. They did everything to let the child go to Harvard. I mean, all their world savings was taken. This child went to Harvard. Now, it was their pride that their child was in Harvard. So from sophomore year to graduation year, it was a thing. He had Harvard friends, white community, and he was fine. He was on the football team. But at the point of graduation, when Onika Luku now, everybody now went back, their family members, you've graduated, you have your certificate. It's not the Harvard that gets you the job. It's the connection of your parents that gets you the job. They did everything to get their child into Harvard, but their child couldn't get a proper job. Why? Because the level of job you should be looking for as a Harvard graduate, it is not your connection. It's usually your parents or the connection that your community has. So he was just there, a Nigerian child. He was left with nothing. He had to come back to Nigeria because there was no connection to get him a good job at Harvard. He came back to Nigeria and joined the job market like everybody else. And it's just still raising up. The point I'm trying to make is that we have this view of my child must go into this community of white people, and when he goes there, they will now show you after graduation that yes, we are together, but when you leave, we're not the same. They will go back to their lineage, they will go back to their connections, and you will go back to where you're starting from as an African. You're gonna find your way. So it is, how do we raise children, Africans, Nigerians? How do we build systems to ensure that when our children do go to this Harvard, they have somewhere within the foreign community to grow, or even come back home to grow?
You need family goals. So a man, just like most scholars go, I'm so disappointed today by, how Hassan said educated women. If a man does not know where he wants his family to go, his wife will be focused on the wrong thing, and they would completely distract and misdirect children that they are raising. You have to be a unit to raise proper children. And it's not about arguing. So a woman who wants to be treated fairly, equitably in her marriage, when she respects her husband when he's talking, she wants to be respected, not called, "S, where's my food here?" in front of her children, And, a few times when she does something for you, you say a kind word of thank you. If she gets that, both of you will focus on raising proper children. Not that she's in court trying to get a freedom. You are holding on to the children to fight back, and that's disorganization we are failing to address when we face women alone. Now we need, because of those different distractions, we see children growing up, and the system continues like that.
Yeah. Let me take this.
We should address
let's
our
go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue. I really want us to touch this issue of Falcons, but it's looking like we're staying on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we certainly can't exhaust this issue of cultural identity, because really would like to hear from Nigerians abroad. But I know the phone lines are a bit jammed right now. We'll keep hoping to get your calls. Let's take a few messages before we move on to the Falcons story. Yes, Mike, give us a few messages. Tubes.
A few tubes? Yeah. Her one says, accent here is not culture. You talk like an African in America you will struggle to land a job.
Ojevo Josephine says, like my father will say, fall for me, I fall for you, play go sweet. So love is not about one-sided submissiveness. ID Noble says, men cannot be submissive, but they must love their wives. And
Chris Ehi Brian says, we're all shouting women are not submissive, but are the men submissive to their wives? Let's turn the table. Women are also human beings.
And Bilikis Mafe says, I partly agree with you. The beauty of our diverse cultures isn't being practiced enough because it is usually one-sided. It favors one gender over the other if we can find a balance.
Let me take Ade from London. Ade, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
To all of you, please.
Yes, good to have you. Go ahead.
I really want to touch on this issue.
Yes.
You people are talking about the Indian. Don't you realize that the Indian women pay dowry on their husband?
Thanks.
Because there are too many women in there. So they have to submit. Otherwise, the man will go for another one. He will pay for his dowry as well. That's number one. Number two, Brazil.
Please call Ade Baku. Hello? Ade? Hey, we need to... We really like to speak to Nigerians abroad, please.
Okomfon says, with all that is being said here about women, how they go abroad and no longer become submissive, it just shows that as Africans, most men don't know what being submissive as a wife truly means.
Let me take
Angela, I just want to take it. Clearly, Africans don't really know how oppressed the Asian women are in their marriages and societies. Talk to some of them, and you'll be so shocked. They literally have no voice in their marriage.
Yes.
So Amademu Abu says, having been living abroad for many years, there's a serious identity crisis with many African families. We copy the wrong things abroad. Many marriages are breaking down because most of the women are copying the Western lifestyle with less value for family life or marriages. The value put on family life abroad is not strong, and there are a lot of dysfunctional families that break down. We need to maintain our African family values, which believes in a strong family value, and a woman is a builder and must always be reminded. Abuse should be a no-no, but our African women easily break their homes like Western counterparts.
Okay, I have a call from Austria. Joseph, are you there?
Austria.
Yeah, hello.
You're live. Go ahead, please. Yes.
Yeah, what I want to say is, although I'm a first-time caller,
Welcome to the show.
You guys for a long time now. What I want to say is this: it all boils down to the education.
Okay.
Be it the formal or the informal education.
Okay.
As Miriam said something about the issue of vernacular and so. This was foisted on us in school because we adopted the official language as English. Now, the problem is this: at home, when a parent trains the child, they speak the language. When you go to the school, your teacher trains you, they speak the official language. So, the problem now is that when both parties draw the good lines, it helps to bring up a child formally. There was a program sometimes here in Austria for cultural diversity, and they brought up from 150 countries in the city of Graz where I am. They wanted them to speak their language. The Chinese, the other could speak their language, but the Africans couldn't speak their language, and the Austrians were very annoyed. And they said, please, parents, teach your children your language when they are at home. When they get to school, they will teach them, they will learn the German language and the English.
Right.
And then the next thing, when it comes to also the issue of the submissiveness of wives to parents and all these things, the issue, people don't spend time with each other enough.